you very much. Yay, amazing. Hi, everyone. Welcome again. A very warm welcome to GSD21. Hopefully you're all very, very excited to be here. I'm certainly excited to have such an amazing panel with us here today to really talk through skills for entrepreneurship. This is an amazing panel because we have such a diverse group of speakers from literally all around the world. And a quick self-introduction. My name is Shuo. I will be the moderator for the session. I run I'm a general partner at IOVC, run this venture fund based in Silicon Valley, predominantly investing in seed stage enterprise SaaS startups. And outside of my full-time investing role, I teach on the faculty at UC Berkeley. We've certainly seen batches of not just undergrad and grad students, but also executives go through various entrepreneurship programs. So excited to ask all of our esteemed panelists today all sorts of questions about their best practices and whatnot. But without further ado, I would love to have all our panelists introduce themselves as well to all of you. So I would love to go in alphabetical order by first name. So that means Bernard, maybe you could start first with just a brief self-intro, telling everyone a little bit about your story, your background, and your relationship to entrepreneurship. Please.
Well, thanks, Shuo, for the background, and a quick shout out to everyone around the world. My name is Bernard Laurendeau, managing partner at Laurendeau and Associates, and also senior advisor to the commissioner here in Ethiopia for the Jobs Creation Commission. Related to entrepreneurship, because most of the programs actually that we run are related to entrepreneurship and ecosystem building here in Ethiopia. And also we have a project currently that is directly related to entrepreneurship, because we're setting up a fund that is mostly equity based to invest in startups in Ethiopia. So there you go.
Amazing. Welcome, Bernard. Next, Diana, please.
Yes. I am a serial entrepreneur. I started my 11th company in April of this year. And in between those companies, I write and speak about innovation and entrepreneurship. So I've written 2 books on, right here, launching disruptive products and maintaining a culture of curiosity inside of large organizations. And I've taught at a university program on innovation and entrepreneurship.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us, Diana. Next up, Reena.
Hi, everyone. Excited to be here. And I give myself a label of solo bootstrapped entrepreneur because that summarizes what I've been doing. Now I'm running a program called Mom Relaunch that I founded 3 years back in 2018 to help women who are on a career break get back into the workforce. And other side, I also teach entrepreneurship to high school students. I firmly believe in giving the entrepreneurial mindset early on, and that's the 2 of my passion areas where I like to spend too much of my time, and that's what I'm doing nowadays.
Perfect. Welcome, Reena. And Wendy, please.
Hi, I'm Wendy Mayhew, and I have been an entrepreneur myself for around 40 years. I learned very early in life that I could not work for anyone else. And so I have been guiding entrepreneurs on how to start their business for a number of years. And about 7 years ago, my focus turned just to people over the age of 50 starting a business.
Perfect. And last but not least, Yamit.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. My name is Yamit Eriksson, and I am a growth strategist. I work with entrepreneurs and leaders of organizations, helping them to clarify their thinking, product, offering, and brand. In previous life, I've co-founded various organizations and projects in the business and social impact sectors with multiple stakeholders. Through that, I can honestly say that I am intimately familiar with the nitty-gritty of executing on ideas and building the necessary infrastructures to do so.
Perfect. Welcome, everyone. As you all can tell, we have such an amazing panel with us here today, all very diverse in terms of tackling entrepreneurship from different perspectives. So since our session is focused on skills for entrepreneurship, maybe we could start a bit with each of you sharing a bit in your mind what successful entrepreneurship or what successful entrepreneurs look like. So any first takers, instead of going by alphabetical, maybe I should just open the floor. So any of you who want to pitch in first can.
I could say that, in my opinion, it is the right balance between a dreamer and an executor. I would say that someone that has passion, perseverance, and adaptability. And today, the most important thing is the ability to articulate it all. It's the fire in your eyes that makes people follow you, want to help you, give you a chance, invest in you. And in the beginning, when you need to get everything you can, that makes all the difference.
Well, I will bring a little different perspective to it after running so many companies and all those things, years of my life. I see entrepreneurs as people themselves. They are people, they are working with people. And in all these rush for doing everything, they forget to be happy. So I go back and say, if you can put a smile on your face, no matter what the situation is, you know that things will get better. Have that coolness in your mind, because if you are not happy, if you are not able to articulate as what Yamit said, you are not going to be able to make your team productive. So keeping a cool mind, having the mindfulness and awareness and a smile on your face is one of the biggest skill that I think entrepreneurs need to learn now. Bring that emotional empathy forward, because of course we are all dealing with people. We are building for people, we are building with people, and we are learning to live with them. So just keep that soft side of you. Just don't have to be so always mission driven. There are things that will fall apart. Let it be happy and make it as a journey. It's never a success or a failure. Make it as a journey. Enjoy that. That's very important that entrepreneurs nowadays are forgetting to do that. So just a little different perspective. That's all I would like to bring in.
I like what no one has said right yet on this, and that is that it has anything to do with money, right? That is entrepreneurship to me. Is you get up every day with a smile on your face and you just want to go and continue changing the world in whatever you are doing in your business. It is nothing. I know people will disagree with me, but yes, it does have something to do with money, but that is not what entrepreneurship is all about.
Diana or Bernard?
Yeah, my answer has to do with money. So now I feel embarrassed to share it. No, but this is how I think about the money. I think about it like being a professional poker player. So you're guaranteed to lose. Like nobody goes to play poker in a tournament and thinks that they're never going to lose a hand, but it's whether you can not lose all your money when you have those losses and you can continue playing. So you're definitely going to encounter setbacks and losses, but if you maximize the gains, you can keep playing on a daily basis, and that's how I think about being an entrepreneur.
Perfect. Bernard.
Yeah, by the way, on this panel, for me, it's difficult to say ladies first because it's going to create some confusion. There's plenty of you there. So why don't I become actually the annoying person here on the panel and remind everyone I'm half French, so that entrepreneurship is actually a French word. I think it was President Macron who reminded that to Obama when he visited, or maybe it was the previous president. But anyway, I think, an entrepreneur also needs to have that, I think Reena already touched on this, but kind of the vision. So they have to, as the French word says, right, it's really, they have to inspire and look forward. But also for me, coming from this part of the world, one thing I would like also to mention is, a lot of people think of entrepreneurship as a geek behind a laptop and someone's coming up with the grand idea. But one thing that we're trying to really do with a movement that we launched here called Incopa is that, everyone is really has a bit of entrepreneurship in their heart. Whether it be a freelancer who's trying to get on a platform like Upwork, or here in Ethiopia we have Gabea, or even a gig worker. A gig worker who's getting so entrepreneurship is also, I think, that feeling of doing something different. Even if it's instead of doing a 9-to-5 job, now you're making your talents, your skills available and talent available on a platform. So for us, that's also entrepreneurship.
Perfect. In fact, Bernard, you have 2 Canadians on this call, myself and Wendy. So you have 2 French speakers here as well, who I'm sure would agree.
Don't speak French. No, not even.
And I was going to say, actually, Bernard, it's really interesting. We were noticing even in our pre-session call that usually entrepreneurship panels are predominantly male. So this is a refreshing change for once, where it is confusing for you to say ladies first. But I think what all of you have shared touched upon different elements of why people would want to be entrepreneurs and what a really successful career as an entrepreneur would look like. And so that kind of directly goes into our next question, which is really thinking through what is a great entrepreneurial mindset. So for someone who's going into this, whether a freelancer or someone who's in entrepreneurship full-time for decades, what are some of the things that successful entrepreneurs or great entrepreneurs have in their mindsets that are different than anyone else?
I'll start.
Please.
Well, I think about the difference between invention and innovation. So invention is just creating something new and different, and innovation is creating something new that provides value to the end user. And so really thinking about that difference, about how are you going to create value? Not is it like fun and different, but is it filling a need for somebody, and really focusing on that value piece that separates a lot of wannapreneurs from people who are successful at it.
Well, I'll give my thoughts in it. I categorize people in 3 buckets. When they see a problem, type 1 will go and complain. They will just complain and complain and complain. Second type, which I categorize as thinkers, they will come and say, what can we do about it? There is something that can be done. And the third type is entrepreneurs who will roll up their sleeves and work towards the solution. And that's the mindset that we need to be thinking and teaching, how we can go from type 1 and type 2 to always be solving the problem. How can we inculcate that system to not complain, because problems will always be there. It makes it better that problems are there. So that's why entrepreneurs are needed, right? So that's how I think entrepreneurs. It's just a problem. How do you see an opportunity in a problem and at the same time make money for yourself and for the people and make the solution which is friendly? I mean, we all know there's so many solutions which should not be there because of all the impacts and things that's happening. So having the solution which is in compliance with all those things, and not only from people, but environment, and bringing value from all angles, is the mindset of an entrepreneur. So just don't come and complain, just don't think, roll up your sleeves and do the work. If you can do that, you're an entrepreneur, no matter what the problem is, no matter what the solution is.
I think also that the question is, are we talking about entrepreneurs alone or also leaders in that wide frame? Because to add to what Reena just said, a positive attitude is a must. I mean, it's not cultivating a positive attitude is not about sticking your hand in the sand or ignoring things or naivete, but about learning how to mentally reframe your response on daily basis. Challenges come all the time. You interact with people, you're surrounded with people, people look up to you. And so your ability to be clear on the goal constantly and to have a positive attitude while you do that, I think that makes all the difference.
Well, you've all just said what I was going to say. So I think that an entrepreneur is the one that, the mindset is number one, especially with the group that I work with, the older entrepreneurs. They have to be able to accept change. And that can be difficult, but they have to think positive, and they have to think good thoughts, and they have to be mindful that they have to change. They can't, they have to get out of the slump that they've been perhaps in for a number of years. And how they do that is they go and ask for help. Then I keep telling them entrepreneurs want to help entrepreneurs, so they're going to help you with your mindset as well.
Yeah, maybe let me add a few things. I think Yamit covered what I wanted to say around leadership. So maybe for me, one thing I'd like to add is the fact that I feel like entrepreneurs are people who can really get to their, I don't know if you know the concept of Ikigai, but folks who can really get to their Ikigai very quickly. I think some of us in our careers, it takes a while. It looks like, Wendy, you figured out very quickly in your life that you can not work for anyone. I think that's what you said in the introduction. But a lot of people takes decades to figure out what their Ikigai is, right? So for me, an entrepreneur is someone who can really quickly understand what what they're good at, what they really love, what the actual world needs, and also what they can be paid for. So they find that intersection of all those four things very quickly. So I think that's something that makes them really different.
Amazing. I do think that in each of your responses, you all had components that touched upon this idea of problem solving and tackling exciting opportunities. And so certainly the natural next question I would all love to hear your thoughts on is, what are some of the most exciting opportunities that you can tackle as an entrepreneur? And then of course, on the other side of the coin, what are some of the most difficult challenges that you would face as well?
Okay, I'll start if you want this time. So the opportunities, wow. Again, I'm only really focused on my own older entrepreneurs, but there's so many opportunities for them. And one of the biggest challenges they have is that people will understand that they have such vast experience, and a lot of them will take the experience from the years of business that they've done and start a business. But then there's the one that have always wanted to do something different. And we have a lot that are going into food industries. We're going into, oh my God, there's so many people, and they're winning awards for doing apps and technology-based companies and things. I was talking to somebody the other day that does robots, and it's so there are such opportunities. And I think that older entrepreneurs, now that they've been through years and years and years of work, have the opportunity to make that change that they've always wanted to make.
Well, looks like I'm the second one picking up on all the questions, so I'll maintain my order in there. So one of the challenges I think most of the entrepreneurs face is letting go of their ego, letting go of the fact that there could be someone better than them to do the work that they think that they can do the best. You know what I'm saying? And that's what holding them back. That's what they're trying to. They're not empowering people properly. They're not letting go of their own decision making under control. The moment they start empowering people to do their job, they will build the team. They will bring in the entrepreneurship within their team, and they will see that it is going to work better for themselves. So there's only one big challenge. The moment they let go of their ego, half of the company's problem is solved in every aspect of it. And in terms of exciting opportunities, I can relate one story here. I mean, that's the only thing I can think about. I'm sure everyone has their own stories, but when I built the first software as a service product, we build the product, the first customer paid, everything is good. But the moment the first customer renewed that, it was a different feeling. It was a different feeling because you have created a solution that somebody is going to pay over and over again. That means you're validating the market, you're validating the solution. And I think that's a very exciting part of being an entrepreneur. That repetitive business that customers are going to come back to you again and again is very fulfilling. Other than all other fun stuff that we do. But I think that I relate very closely in terms of the opportunities. So.
add to what Reena said in terms of exciting opportunities, I think that for most entrepreneurs, it's the fact that you may be building something bigger than yourself. Not only are you solving a problem or making someone's life better, but you're creating a community and affecting lives wherever you go with this, whether it's, a specific solution or providing jobs or tackling things that, change the world. And so it's that feeling of an excitement of doing something that is bigger than you and could actually make a difference. I think that one of the most challenging things for entrepreneurs, and that is two things that I would mention. First is balancing perfections and progress. We all know the saying, done better than perfect. And, being precise is better than being perfect. And it's really hard to get there because we're talking about high achievers, and the two are not always aligned. And I think another thing that I would add to that is letting go. In the right time, sometimes you need to let go, whether you need to pivot, whether you need to close a company, change a company, move to a different role in a company. And that is something very difficult, especially when you've built something from scratch.
Yeah. Why don't I go next here and explain also that, one of the things here that we try to instill in entrepreneurs in East Africa and Ethiopia specifically is the fact that, they really need to be a Macgyver. Actually, I think that's the right term, because I'm going to be very honest with you. For me, I really much more respect some entrepreneurs here in Africa, rather than I have nothing against Mark Zuckerberg and actually people like Jeff Bezos, who was just coming back from space, I think a couple hours ago. But the thing is, they have a network, they have kind of an ecosystem around them, right? That they can kind of quickly, and I know they also have their own challenges, right? But that they can quickly plug into. But here in low resource environments where, it's very difficult to drive on a road where you have a bunch of venture capitalists like Silicon Valley, or you can knock on the bank's door and get a loan. You really need to be able to do everything. So I think it's a bit what Reena said, right? At the same time, you need to let go of your ego, but at the same time, you really need to be a Macgyver, because you need to be reaching out to those investors. And so, for instance, if you're kind of a introvert type of person, well, you're going to have to shake a bunch of hands and, give that elevator pitch every once in a while. At the same time, you have to be a geek. You have to really touch on a bunch of different things. So that's what's very difficult, I think, for entrepreneurs in low resource environments. But then going back to what Reena said, also, I think the opportunity that they have is that they they really need to find the talent, but at the right time, I think, because sometimes if you let go of your ego too quickly, it's not maybe the right time, right? You need to have also enough runway to inspire, to drive, to lead, and then at some point let go of that ego and find the right team members. So I think timing is really, really important as well, especially in low resource environments.
Well, my family story is one of entrepreneurship. I'm a refugee. I moved to the United States when I was 8 years old, and my parents, didn't speak English and they had no money. And by the time that I was in middle school, so like 12 years old, they started a business, and it was a manufacturing laboratory for making crowns for people's teeth. And within the next 10 years, they went from like the lowest income bracket in the United States to the top income bracket from putting their all into it. And my own personal story as a mom and a wife who had to move because of my husband's job, entrepreneurship has allowed me to be incredibly flexible and still be creating value no matter where I am in the world. And so it makes all your dreams come true. That's how I feel about it. Is the ultimate flexibility for whatever you need in life. And the biggest challenge is it's incredibly lonely because you're at the top, and it's very difficult to talk to your employees who might panic from what you have to say to them. And it's difficult to explain to others what you're going through if they aren't in exactly the same boat, which is why events like this are so important, so that you can connect with other people going through similar things.
Absolutely agreed. In fact, I think this is such an important topic that maybe we could spend a little bit more time digging into this topic. I know we have about 20 minutes left, but I think a lot of the folks here, especially in terms of thinking about skills that are important for entrepreneurship, would want to hear about some of the challenges that all of us have discussed, whether it's overcoming ego or balancing different perspectives, how you can practically do something to effectively address for that. Maybe it is by having a handful of great co-founders to work with. Maybe it is the relationships that you develop with mentors and other partners along the way. But love to hear from all of you in terms of effective practical strategies that everyone here today can take away with them in terms of more effectively tackling these opportunities, or hopefully effectively addressing these challenges that we've discussed so far.
You mean challenges of the entrepreneurship skills? Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
For example, this sometimes the ego piece, I think, is really important, right?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to see past your own biases. So what are some of the things that we can do around that?
Well, since I raised that point, let me answer that question first before others. So, it's not, the biasness and ego are kind of interrelated. And in my opinion, there's only one way to figure this out. First of all, bring that awareness, knowing yourself, understanding and looking introspectively how you are reacting to the situation at the moment, and then think about it like, could I have done any better? That little awareness changes the game. Okay. We all have been in the situation where we have reacted. When you change that reaction mode to respond properly, you are making that change. Will it happen in one time? May or may not be, right? Similarly, it goes to the fact about the ego part. Ego is such a big word, especially whether, and I work with my work company, Mom Relaunch, right? So I work with moms, and I go back and say, we moms, we don't let go of our own motherly duties and then complain that others are not helping us. We need to let go. It doesn't have to be perfectly clean. It doesn't have to be perfectly cooked. We need to let go of all that perfection. And it starts from those little practices, and it will come with bringing the awareness. Again, how the bringing the awareness happens is bringing mindful of what you're doing. And no matter
I think, Reena,
it has to come here, and it has to come to our own self. Oops, am I breaking?
You're back. You're good.
Oh, okay. Okay, so is it better now? All I was trying to say is it's not going to be possible for hearing from someone else. You need to bring your own awareness. You need to bring your own self mindfulness of how you're reacting to a situation, how you are holding it back, because the moment 10 people will come and tell you, you will actually not going to do that. So just look at yourself. Just look at yourself, how you're doing, bring that awareness, do some meditation, all those things. And it's very easy to get over that. It just feels that it's very big problem, but very easy to do. Once you do it, you feel so free. You don't have to do everything. So that is very important. So just my suggestion.
Maybe, can I go next?
Of course, please.
So maybe three things on my end. And I thought Reena was dialing in from Ethiopia there for a second because you're having technical difficulties.
Well, I'm in the Silicon Valley.
I think a lot of
How about
entrepreneurs
that?
have, yeah. We'll send you some bandwidth from Ethiopia if you need some. A lot of entrepreneurs have MBAs, I think, which is management by accident. And that's definitely not welcome, right, in the entrepreneurship world. I think three things. I think as an entrepreneur, you need to have a roadmap. So it's important to kind of know where you're headed. You cannot just manage day by day and try to figure it out. I think that it's not going to fly. But then at the same time, second point is you need to be 2 steps ahead, I think, of everyone, whether it be your team, your investors, of course, the customers or potential clients, right? So you need to be always 2 steps ahead. So again, roadmap, but also being 2 steps ahead. But then finally, also, you need to be agile. And so when life comes with a bunch of challenges and hurdles, you need to be quickly able to pivot and you know, be able to go away a little bit from that roadmap that you had defined. So again, I think road mapping, but then also being 2 steps ahead and then being agile is very, very important, especially in a world where today, you know, knowledge is distributed. And in technology, things move very, very, very fast. So,
I want to say something about what Reena said earlier about ego, and that is very tricky because entrepreneurs need to lead, and you need to show confidence, and you need to be in that, you know, stage constantly, especially when you're in front of investors. If you need to convince people that you're worthwhile their investment, it's all a matter of confidence and articulating your story. And it's like creating, like Reena said, maybe the ultimate entrepreneur. But if we look at the situation today with the big names, I don't think that people let go of their ego. On the contrary. And so I ask, what is the right amount in order to see something through, but yet being able to listen and being humble enough in order to learn, change, and be aware of things that are not under your grasp.
I think I am a one-person organization right now, and you know, trying to make all of these decisions and staying up all the time, you have to have someone around you that is there, that you can talk to, and you know, walk things through, because you do have to have this work plan, right? But it's so overwhelming, and so I am so pleased to have 3 different advisors that I can talk with, and it's great because you just can't do it alone. And I always say that you cannot do it alone. And I like surrounding myself with obviously other entrepreneurs. And I think another thing, whenever you're talking about the egos, yeah, there's an awful lot of egos out there. And I think that, and I have been told this, and I don't mean to, I'm very honored that people have told me how genuine I am. And that really, really means a lot to me as a business owner, because they just know that they can talk to me and they can trust what I'm going to say to a certain extent anyway. So I think, you know, you need to be genuine.
I think the world is your oyster when it comes to like finding ways to solve for skills. I think you should be really creative and try things until they work for you. You can build an advisory board, you can try an incubator, you can try a group of other executives, you can try a coach, you can try a business consultant, you can sign up on Instagram for a guru who has a class or a program that you can take. So I would just say, like, don't try one thing and say it didn't work. Entrepreneurship is about continuing to try until you get what you're looking for.
I want to add something to that. If I need to choose something that for me is the most important thing in entrepreneurship, I think is creating the foundations that will help you to move forward. And for me, it's networks. It's creating relationships, cultivating relationships, investing in them, because that makes all the difference. Whether if it's information that you need, help, support system, mentors like Diana mentioned, it all begins and ends with relationships and the community that you created around you that allows you to move forward. And that, in my opinion, is the most important thing.
And you can openly ask questions to them, and they'll get back to you, right? That's it. Yeah, it's wonderful.
It's interesting when they say about the asking questions. I have an amazing experience. No matter whoever I have reached out to, people are willing to help. It's just that we are shy of asking. We are thinking of we won't get this. So what if they say no? That's okay, but just ask. It's an amazing point, Yamit.
Yeah, and not only people are willing to help, it gives them value.
Exactly.
It's not only you get something out of it, or not only you asking for something. And by the way, I think there's a huge difference between men and women when it comes to asking. But at the end of the day, it's mentoring someone, helping someone. It gives a lot of value to the person that you approach.
Yamit, we need a separate panel for that topic.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm sure, Bernard, there's a lot you can contribute there as well, not to leave you out. And in fact, this is kind of the perfect note to ask the specific next question to you on, because the intention of this session is to really focus on the skills piece. So curious, what are some of the ways that entrepreneurs can more effectively hone these skills over time? Are there more effective ways of training them than others? And really helping entrepreneurs think through, if they're in this job already, how do you actually train and develop great entrepreneurs over time? What skills do I focus on honing on? And then what kinds of programs are most effective?
Anyone want to take that?
I will.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think okay, so here I am a firm believer, and I'm that you cannot train an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs want to do it on their own. You know, I've written a book. I was asked to write a textbook on entrepreneurship, which is used in colleges and universities. And I went, okay, but I do, you know, it's all learning on your own. It's learning from others that are going through the same experiences that you have. You know, you may think, oh my gosh, I've never, ever, nobody's ever experienced this. Yeah, they have. Like, you know, it's just, we've all been through everything, the good, the bad, the not so good, you know, the very, very good. So you learn, you just talk, and that's how you learn.
Well, yeah, the best MBA is trial and error.
That's right.
So,
yeah.
And there's no way around it.
Yeah. So my take on that is, yeah, entrepreneurship, there's some element that comes by nature, but there are a lot of things that can be taught in terms of how to deal with situations, and the situations can be learned to be dealt only by practice. And we follow the same philosophy in Mom Relaunch. Is like, if you're looking for a job, training and certification won't end you there. Go do the projects, go hands-on projects. So we have created a simulated work environment for people to come and get that experience. And same hold true for entrepreneurs. If you are not sure you want to be an entrepreneur, go in a simulated environment, go and do things. There's no way you can just do it just by listening. So unless you fail, and come with the mindset that failure is just part of learning, change the word failure to learning, and you will see more and more success stories. That's as simple as that. People are afraid of the term failure. Just you go change that terminology, change that mindset. There's nothing called failure. And you will see a lot more entrepreneurs coming in.
I think, Reena, you're touching a subject, and that is, how do we educate, maybe from early age?
Exactly, and that's why I do that under high school.
You know, to take more chances and to learn, and, you know, not to phrase things as failure, to communicate with others. I mean, if we're looking at younger generations, everything is done through a screen. And so the importance of human connection, on how you interact with people, the value that you get and you bring, it's a different world. And so I think there are many things that maybe like Wendy said, you cannot teach it, but you can create an ecosystem that will produce far more people and opportunities by nurturing people and making them, you know, giving them the confidence to pursue a dream or to try. So many people just, you know, sitting on their dreams for a right momentum and not doing that. And I think that that's something that could definitely help.
And I think that a lot with what you're saying, you're sitting there on their dreams but not doing anything about it, and that does hold a whole lot of people back. And I think a big part of that can be because of financing. They're afraid of, you know, not being able to get any financing for their dream job. But starting a business now doesn't have to be expensive, right? I mean, we start out, I mean, anybody that's doing anything now, we have our computers, we have our cell phones, we have the means to do so many different things there's a lot of free tools out there to start with. And then, as you grow, then you buy the upscale ones, shall I say, if they're needed. So it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. And I think that people need to, encourage people to take that leap. And it doesn't have to be a big business either. It can be, just get going on it. You'll learn, then you'll know whether you want to do it or not. And
exactly.
Yeah, it's not for everyone.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, if I can jump in here. So I think, the world right now, and, I think the overall topic of this of today is really the future of jobs. I think, the way the education system is set up in the Western world, in the Southern Hemisphere, pretty much all countries, right? We're really like 30 years behind. And, sometimes when I see my kids growing up and, the doctors say, hey, we need to reduce screen time and things like that. My knee-jerk reaction is to say, no, I want to give them 5 tablets, 10 TVs, and all the technologies they need, because I really believe that knowledge is distributed. And so even for the, normal skills, so to speak, like mathematics and things like that, our kids, do they really need to go to school? I don't think so. I think the only skills nowadays that they're getting from schools are like kind of the soft skills. But when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's even more important to acquire those soft skills. And definitely those are things that you cannot get on screens or tablets and what have you. So I think the power of networking is really something to take into consideration here. Is you can be as curious and thirsty for knowledge, and God knows that folks also in the Southern Hemisphere are very thirsty for knowledge and for new ideas. And it's crazy actually how people in the Southern Hemisphere, for instance, in countries like Ethiopia, are learning languages like Python and whatever on YouTube. No one is teaching them. But for entrepreneurship, it's a bit of a difficult skill. And so I think some of the other panelists touched on this, but it's you need to network, you need to be curious, talk to people, talk again, and then re-network again. So I think curiosity and just talking to a bunch of people is very, very important.
Bernard, I also think, double clicking on what you just said, and that is creating the adaptation to certain cultures. If we're talking about Ethiopia, or, even in Israel, we have different minorities. And when creating programs that fit their needs, they bloom. And so this changes and tailoring it to their needs, whatever it's certain, cultural, adaptations, it's crucial in order to see people thrive. And I think we don't do that enough.
Yeah, I think what you just said, Bernard, is you can learn Python, but you cannot learn entrepreneurship. Hear 5 other people sitting next to there talking about entrepreneurship, which is what happens in the Silicon Valley. Is not afraid of sharing their ideas. They are in the coffee shop, they can share their ideas, and there are 5 people coming and talking about and trying to see how they can help. This is the environment. If we can create that environment, and if with the networking and all the remote thing now available, mentors and things are not a problem. But what is the problem is the environment and the ecosystem around that place. So if it's Ethiopia or Israel and all, how can we replicate that environment and the mindset, maybe create that presence, and that will help. That simulated work environment, no matter where it is happening, is very important. So that's what my suggestion would be on that.
I think this is such an important discussion because I know we're closing in on the last 3 minutes, but this is such an important discussion to have because for all aspiring or even current entrepreneurs here, I think they can all have pieces of lessons to take away from different parts of the discussion. Maybe in this last few minutes, we've already talked about topics covering the difference between entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship, and even talking about diversity, not just in terms of race and gender and geographic location around the world, but also in terms of age. Maybe in this last 3 minutes, each of you can leave a couple of quick pieces of advice, practical things that people can take away and do as an immediate next step, whether it's subscribing onto a newsletter, reading a specific book, or something tangible that they can all walk away and do right away. That would be a great note to wrap up our session on.
All right, you said book. I'm going to start. Buy my book, Why Is It the Definitive Guide to Starting a Business After the Age of 50?
Nice. Yeah, well, if I have to follow Wendy, there's a book. I'm also writing a book where I talk about 3 different paths: an entrepreneurial path, a traditional job, as well as being a one-person army, which is a freelancer, right? So you can do that as well. But my one piece of advice is just do it. Doesn't matter if just think that you're building a business. Just do it on the paper. There is no need to go and sell. Just start talking to people who's going to be doing the customer interviews. Everything is so important. No matter which part of the country you are in, there is a problem. Look into the problem, find an opportunity, and try to solve it. Whether you will be successful or not, that's a different thing. You can always find the support system all across the globe, but come and change the mindset that you need things to start something. First, find the solution, and then we will find how we can make it work.
One thing I'd like to say is, as an entrepreneur, try to get out of your own little world. So if you're living in Mountain View, try to see what's happening in Tempe, Arizona. If you're in New York City, try to figure out what's happening in Paris. If you're in Ethiopia, try to find out what's happening in Durban, South Africa. Because, we're 7 billion or so, or more maybe nowadays, individuals on this planet. The problem that you're trying to solve in your own little zip code has already been solved maybe in the other part of the world. So also that curiosity, and nowadays, again, knowledge is distributed. You get on YouTube, you get on internet, and you'll get some of those answers. So try to get out of your own little world and try to see if the problem has been solved on the other side of the world.
I would say 2 things. 1, network, connect, expand, talk to whomever you can, and surround yourself with like-minded people or people that you are looking up to. That should make a whole lot of change for you.
I love all of those. I would just add, you should be embarrassed by your first try. That's how you know you're doing it right.
Love all the practical advice. And in fact, on Yamit's last point about networking, great job to all of you for even being here in the first place, because this is your starting place to connect with more folks. And then the last piece of advice I would leave is I've been sitting on the nonprofit board of an organization called Decode. I think you can find their website at decode.build. This has certainly been one of those networks where I've seen a lot of students, alumni, even older entrepreneurs plug into the network and kind of identify for opportunities. So find your local network, GSD21 being an awesome place to start. Kind of find the tangential networks where it's relevant to what you're doing, and then figure out from there if you can connect with the right people, continue to ask for advice, overcome your biases, everything that we've discussed today. So hopefully with that, everyone who's here at the panel today and then watching the recording afterwards would have a handful of very specific action steps that you can take away and do in your day-to-day life. And on behalf of all the panelists and all the conference organizers here, we wish you nothing but the utmost success as an entrepreneur. And we very much look forward to seeing a more diverse set of entrepreneurs emerge over time as well. Thank you so much to all the panelists for all of your insights and advice on this discussion, and look forward to staying in touch afterwards as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy to be here. Thank you, everyone.
Take
Bye.
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.